afternoon. A debate on it is set to begin once the bill is read for the first time, and then at the second stage the bill will be debated and again proceed to the committee of the whole house stage this afternoon. The chairperson Committee on Delegated Legislation, Honorable Samuel Chepkonga, will be moving a motion on the report, or will be seeking the House to adopt its report on the consideration of the draft salaries and remuneration commission on the remuneration and benefits of state and other public officers regulations 2022. This is a report that has been on the floor of the National Assembly for a number of sittings. A debate on it already kicked off on the floor of the House, and this afternoon this report seeks to have the House reject in totality the report, or rather the regulations, the draft salaries and remuneration commission regulations 2022, and a question will be put this afternoon for the members to vote on that report. Of course, the report is seeking to have the House reject the draft, and this afternoon the question will be put for the members to vote on it. A motion by the Chairperson Select Committee on National Constituencies Development Fund, Honorable Sirma, on the approval of nominees to 3 National Government Constituency Development Fund committees is also lined up for consideration. This is a motion on the approval of nominees to 3 National Government Constituency Development Fund committees. A motion that is moved by the Chairperson Select Committee on National Government Constituencies Development Fund, that there are quite a list of names that this motion has highlighted, and members will be considering that motion. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, is in the chambers. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Good afternoon.
Mimi na tuombe ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umetoa nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu. Tukutii utusamee kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokusanyika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeant, you may ring the division bell.
Well, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, has just directed that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. This is to allow members of the National Assembly who are yet to get into the chambers. All right, the Sergeant at Arms has just indicated that the quorum has been achieved.
We now have the necessary quorum to transact.
I will now hand you over for this live broadcast.
Order, clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. Number 1, reports of the Auditor General and the financial statements on Kenyan Sese and Trypanosomiasis Eradication Council for the year ended 30th June 2019, 2020, and 2021, and the certificates therein. Reports of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year ended 30th June 2022, and the certificates therein. East African Regional Transport, Trade and Development Facilitation Project, and that is IDA credit number 5638 KE. Information and Communication Technology Authority, Horn of Africa Gateway Development Project, IDA credit number 6768 KE, Information and Communication Technology Authority, Vijana Vuka na Afya Youth Program, grant number 201367465, State Department for Youth Affairs, Tuake Multipurpose Water Development Program Phase 1, that is African Development Bank loan number 2100-1500-29993, 2000-2000-3351, AGTF number 5050-20000501, and African Development Bank grant number 2100155025-973, that is the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. E, Ruabura Irrigation Development Project, National Irrigation Authority. F, National Information Platform for Food Security and Nutrition Project, that is Food 2017-393-022, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. G, Kenya Italy Department for Development Programs, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, Insurance Regulatory Authority, State Department for Interior and Citizen Services, the National Treasury, Nairobi Thika Highway Improvement Project, Lot 1 and 2, that is credit number 21001-5001-5544, Kenya National Highway Authority, Mombasa Nairobi Addis Ababa Road Corridor Project, Phase 2, that is Marsabit Tarbi Road, ID number PZI DBO 027, Kenya National Highway Authority. Mwea Irrigation Development Project, loan number KEP 227, National Irrigation Authority. Bura Rehabilitation Development Project, loans number Badea 3530, LA 763, Kuwait 752, OPEC 1154P, National Irrigation Authority. And finally, Honorable Speaker, Water Sector Trust Fund. It's not finally, I left it a few. Tourism Research Institute, Kenya National Trading Corporation Limited, Retirement Benefits Authority, Commodities Fund, South Nyanza Sugar Company Limited, Kenya Trade Remedies Agency, Global Fund HIV AIDS Project, grant number KEN HTNT 2065, National AIDS Control Council, Kenya Electricity Generating Company PLC, and Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board. Honorable Speaker, finally, it's the audit report of the Auditor General on public debt servicing activities by the National Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Whip, Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Bindi Nyoro. Hold that. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March the 21st of 2023. Report of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on its consideration of the agreement between the Government of the Republic of Kenya and the Government of the United Kingdom and Great Britain and Northern Ireland on defense cooperation.
Thank you. Chairperson, Select Committee on NGCDF. Musa Sirma.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 21st March 2023. Report on the Select Committee on National Government Constituency Development Fund on list of nominees to the National Government Constituency Development Fund for two constituencies, Kandara and Samburu East. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, before we go to the next, I wish to introduce to the House a delegation from the Parliament of Zambia who are seated in the Speaker's row. The delegation comprises members of the Parliament Committee on Youth, Sports and Child Matters. They are: 1, Honorable Sydney Mushanga MP, Chairperson; Honorable Emelda Munashabantu MP, Vice Chair; Honorable Chinga Miyutu MP, Member; Honorable Edika Singombe MP, Member; Honorable Pavyuma Kalobo MP, Member; Honorable George K. Kandafula MP, Member; Honorable Mishek Mutelo MP, Member; Honorable Allen Banda MP, Member; Honorable Michael J.Z. Katambo MP, Member; and Honorable Golden Mwila MP, Member. Honorable members, the delegation is accompanied by two parliamentary officers, Evans Chilongu and Ms. Priska Shimalungwe. The delegation is on a visit to benchmark with their counterpart committees of the House on the best practices to enhance the plight of children born or brought up in prison or correctional facilities. Honorable members, on my behalf and on behalf of the National Assembly, I welcome them to Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay in the country. Thank you. Is Ndindi Nyoro in now? Okay, I'm told he has called a member of his committee, the Honorable Babu Wino, and informed him to inform the chair, which he has done, that we hold the matter a little bit. He's on his way here, so we'll go to the next order. Thank you, Babu Wino.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations.
Thank you once again, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence, and Foreign Relations on its consideration of the agreement between the Republic of Kenya and the government of the United Kingdom, thank you for that correction, of the Great Britain and Northern Ireland of Defense Cooperation laid on the table of the House on this Tuesday, 21st March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 8(4) of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012 approves the ratification of the agreement between the Republic of Kenya and the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland on defense cooperation, subject to the following reservations. 1, Article 6, Sub-Article 5 of the agreement should include murder as one of the offenses not to be considered as arising from the official duties and hence under the jurisdiction of the host nation. And 2, Article 23 of the agreement to include corporate social responsibility. Thank you.
What did I hear, Honorable Koech? The first exception? Can you repeat?
Article 6, Sub-Article 5 of the agreement should include murder as one of the offenses not to be considered as arising from official duties and ends under the jurisdiction of the host nation. If you allowed me, they had given number of things that could be omitted not to be tried in this jurisdiction, and omitted murder as one of those that we could try within.
You've put it back?
We've put it back.
Very good.
Thank you.
I thought you had excluded it because
No.
I have dealt with this matter for many years.
Yeah.
And you have no authority to exclude anybody from criminal responsibility. Well done. And it's also important for you to know that Britain is not a republic. It is a kingdom. So you correct your records. Chairperson, Select Committee on NGCDF, Musa Sirma.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice to the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituency Development Fund on 2 constituencies laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 21st March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 2 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund. 1, Kandara Constituency. 2, Samburu East Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give the notice. Thank you.
Member for Langata, Honorable Felix Odiwar. I thought you were called Jalango.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a nickname.
That's my name, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the notice on the following motion.
You beg to give.
To give a notice on the following motion on public health concerns at Langata Cemetery. That you're aware that Article 42 of the Constitution provides for the right of every person to a clean environment and a healthy environment. Further aware that Article 69 of the Constitution obligates the state to ensure sustainable utilization of the environment and natural resources, including land, recognition that the 4th schedule of the Constitution assigns the national government the function of land planning, including the general principles of land planning and coordination of planning by the counties, as well as matters of health policy. Further recognizing that there is an ongoing public outcry regarding the neglect of Langata Public Cemetery, which was declared full close to 2 decades ago. That concern that this matter has been left unaddressed and poses a significant health risks to the public, deeply concerned that the situation has led to overcrowding and double allocation of burial sites with bodies being buried in shallow graves, leading to frequent uncovering by wild animals from nearby national park. Further concerned that this has caused untold anguish, pain, and suffering to the bereaved families and psychological torment to the neighboring community. Now, therefore, this House urges the national government through the Ministry of Health to urgently conduct assessment of the public health risks posed by the continued use of Langata Cemetery and institute mitigatory measures and collaborate with other stakeholders, including the Nairobi City County government, to identify suitable alternative land for use as a cemetery. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, member for Kandui, the Honorable John Makali MP. Defer the notice to tomorrow. Member for Central Imenti, Moses Kirima.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that aware that the eucalyptus tree species are popular among large-scale and commercial tree farmers in Kenya, noting that these trees species are grown in most ecological zones in the country, and in particular in Western Central Rift Valley, Central Kenya, part of Western and coastal region of the country, acknowledging that farming of the eucalyptus trees has been on the rise due to their fast growth and good economic returns, diverse commercial uses such as transmission poles, firewood, timber, plywood, pulp, fencing posts, and building materials, among others. Concerned that eucalyptus tree species are majorly cited as high water and depleting agents through high consumption, transpiration, and evaporation, thus causing the drying up of streams, rivers, and the depletion of groundwater sources. Deeply concerned that the high depletion of water by the same trees has caused adverse negative effects on the soil fertility, land degradation, and serious threats to biodiversity. Recognizing that due to the serious threats posed by the eucalyptus trees to the biodiversity, there is need, therefore, for their removal and replacement with other types of trees to improve conservation of water, resources, and ecosystem. This House resolves that the national government, through the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry, orders absolute banning of planting of eucalyptus trees and encourages planting of indigenous species across the country. 2, orders the uprooting of all eucalyptus trees and replacement with other varieties of trees, particularly indigenous species, to ensure conservation of water sources and preserve the ecosystem. 3, initiate the process of putting in place punitive measures against persons who defy the above orders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, we're back to you to lay your paper.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The questions. Black. Where are the questions? Question number 049. Aden Mohammed, member Wajir East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to ask question 049 of 2023, today, Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, to the Cabinet Secretary for Defense. Could the Cabinet Secretary for Defense confirm whether there are plans to set up a foreign military base at Wajir International Airport, and state whether the government undertook any public participation prior to granting approval for the setting up of the said base? 2, will setting up of the foreign military base make the Wajir Airport a no-go zone for citizens who regularly use the airport for aviation purposes? I beg to ask.
Thank you. Chairman, Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations. The question is to your committee. We expect your answer in 2 weeks. Question 052, member for Kirinyaga County on the Wanjeri Maina. Wakili.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 052 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary for Health. Question number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary state the physical and technological infrastructure that the ministry has put in place for the care and rehabilitation of people with mental health issues in the country, particularly those in Kirinyaga County? Question number 2, with what measures has the ministry instituted to support full implementation of the legal and policy framework contained in the Mental Health Act 2022 regarding mental health? Question number 3, what action has the ministry taken to ensure that all persons suffering from mental health issues in Kirinyaga County are registered to enable them to benefit from public programs and access information on care and management of mental health? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Chairman, Health. Any member of the committee, inform your chairman. We need the answer in 2 weeks. Member for Tana River County, Honorable Amina Dika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the question 53-2023 to the Cabinet Secretary Education. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reason why primary and secondary schools in Tana River, which have less than 30 candidates, are not examination centers, despite the school being duly registered by the ministry? Number 2, what measures has the ministry put in place to address the challenges by the candidates and their parents and guardians in Tana River County who compelled to commute for long distances or seek temporary accommodation around approved examination centers? Number 3, could the ministry consider allowing all candidates in Tana River County to take their national examinations from the registered schools where they are enrolled? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question. Happy Meli. Yes, Honorable Injendi, you tell your chair you bring the answer in 2 weeks. Question 054, member for Kibwezi West, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 054 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. Considering that the value attached to lands and plots compulsorily acquired for construction of Kibwezi to Kitui Road in 2017 and the rolling parking facility in Kibwezi town have since appreciated over time, could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, state whether the government has any plans to review the compensation upwards, given that payment or awarded value has been delayed since 2017? Question number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the reasons as to why the ministry and the National Lands Commission have delayed payment to affected landowners since the year 2017? And question number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary commit on when owners of the compulsorily acquired parcels of land and plots of town plots will be compensated? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Lands. Any member thereof? Inform the chairman we need the answer in 2 weeks. Question 055. Member for Stare, Honorable Amos Mwango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to ask question number 055 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the circumstances under which the National Police Service unfairly terminated the service of Sergeant Suleiman Bilal Wanjau, aka Sele, of service number 72242-97046-796, a celebrated Kenyan boxer who won 12 medals for the country, among them 2 gold medals, and confiscated his personal belongings, yet the officer had been undergoing medication and rehabilitation from mental illness at the time. 2, could the Cabinet Secretary outline the steps, if any, that have been taken to support Mr. Sele in order to assist him to fully recover and resume duties, including catering for his treatment and psychosocial support for mental illness suffered due to boxing? 3, could the Cabinet Secretary cause the reinstatement of Mr. Suleiman Bilal Wanjau and allow him to honorably retire early and pay his retirement benefits in full in honor of the 17 years of his continuous service in the police force and outstanding representation of the country in world boxing? 4, clarify whether the National Police Service handed back to Mr. Wanjau all the personal belongings confiscated from him, including medals and certificates, and if not, state when the belongings will be surrendered to him. 5, state the measures that have been put in place for the welfare of police officers who are recruited for their sports talents, especially when they cease active participation in sports or suffer adverse sports-related health effects. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security. Wapi Tongoyo? Yes, you bring the answer in the next 2 weeks. Question 056. The member for Thika Town, Honorable Alice Nganga, MP.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question 056 of 2023 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration to provide the status of investigation into the circumstances that led to the death of one man, Mr. Jeff Mwathi, in the wee hours of 23rd February 2023 in Kasarani, Nairobi, under unclear circumstances. 2, to explain why no arrests have been made so far despite the case being reported at the Kasarani police station under OB number 365 of 2023 on 23rd February 2023, and the unavailable evidence being found at the scene. 3, have they considered offering any necessary financial assistance to the affected family? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Remember. Chairman, Committee on Administration and Internal Security, Tongoyo, 2 weeks. Statement by Cynthia Muge, MP, Nandi County.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to request for a statement regarding the issuance of diplomatic passports to Kenyan athletes. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I request for a statement from the chairperson, the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture, regarding the issuance of diplomatic passports to Kenyan athletes. Honorable Speaker, athletics has had a major impact on Kenya, both economically and socially. To note, Honorable Speaker, it's a major source of income and also pride. Besides the President, Honorable Speaker, athletes are the only other persons who have the national anthem played abroad due to their exemplary performance. However, Honorable Speaker, they have been experiencing challenges when traveling to represent the country globally due to the nature of their passports and delays in obtaining their visas. In that regard, Honorable Speaker, many have failed to participate in international competitions. A case in point, Honorable Speaker, is 100 meters champion Ferdinand Omanyala, who failed to travel to Oregon in time to participate in the World Athletics Championship, Honorable Speaker, because of visa challenges. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act number 12 of 2011, the Cabinet Secretary is empowered where he considers is necessary to authorize the issuance of a diplomatic passport to a person who does not fall in any of the categories that are set out in the third schedule. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Sports and Culture on the following. Number one, Honorable Speaker, could the chairperson explain the status of the undertaking by the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Youth and Sports on November 2022 regarding support of athletes by issuance of diplomatic passports? Number two, Honorable Speaker, could the chairperson state when the ministry will issue diplomatic passport to the athletes? And lastly, Honorable Speaker, could the chair explain the plans the government has put in place to facilitate acquisition of visas by athletes? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Cynthia, you are sure your statement should not have been directed to internal security? They are the ones who are responsible for management, issuance, withdrawal of passports. Maybe you should reconsider.
I stand guided, Honorable
Because
Speaker.
you are taking a route where you are going to a minister who will go to another minister to get you an answer.
I stand guided, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, reduction of a publication period of a bill.
Honorable members, you will notice you have a supplementary order paper, and on the request of the majority leader and for the convenience of the House, under Standing Order 42, I wish to reorganize business and order that order number 13 be considered immediately after order number 8. So order number 8, Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Yes, Honorable Atandi. What is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I want to rise on Standing Order 250. As
Standing Order
250 as read together with your rules read together with the Speaker's rules. Number 1, 2, 3.
Hold on.
1, 2, 3. And Honorable Speaker, the Standing Order number 250 does not anticipate a situation where a stranger is allowed to come to Parliament, and especially, Honorable Speaker, to address the media within the precincts of Parliament. Honorable Speaker, today in the afternoon, several strangers were in Parliament.
Order, Honorable Atandi, sit down, please. Take your seat. Take your seat. Standing Order 250, standing on its own, gives you no opportunity to make any statement on the floor. And if you want to make a statement, you know the procedure. Out of courtesy, you first see the Speaker, inform the Speaker what you want to raise. Then the Speaker will oblige you, depending on the circumstances, to give you an opportunity to say whatever you wish to say. For now, I rule you out of order. You should follow the procedure. And when the Speaker is satisfied that you have a case to prosecute, you'll be allowed the time to do so. And this doesn't apply to Honorable Atandi only, to all of you, Honorable members. If you have any issue you want to raise on the floor of the House, courtesy and procedure requires that you see Mr. Speaker way before time, so that he's also satisfied that what you want to raise does not offend standing orders does not offend any law, does not offend any provisions of our Constitution, and falls within the orderly conduct of our business in the House. Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker. I rise on a procedural motion that, pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 120, that this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, from 7 days to 1 day, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have been on a marathon, and especially in the recent past, considering the supplementary estimates, and lately, last week, the budget policy statement. Mr. Speaker, we are currently in the process of considering the Division of Revenue Bill. And Mr. Speaker, judging by the calendar of the House, we may have to reduce this time, Mr. Speaker, so that before we proceed on the imminent recess, we will have, Mr. Speaker, done our duty in terms of passing the said bill. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I seek to move, and on the same, Mr. Speaker, request Honorable Aseka to second.
Who is seconding you, Honorable Chair?
Mr. Speaker, I had already requested Honorable Aseka to second.
Thank you. I was consulting the clerk. Honorable Aseka, go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. As the chair said, looking at the constitutional timelines and the recess that is ahead of this House, I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, from 7 days to 1 day. I put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, from 7 days to 1 day. Will as members of that opinion say aye? Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 13, motion, alteration of the calendar of the House.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 28.4, that this House resolves to alter its calendar for the second session, that is the regular sessions, as adopted on Wednesday, February 15th, 2023, by varying the period for the short recess with respect to the first part of the session, and so that it reads that the short recess commences on Friday, 24th March 2023, and ends on Monday, 10th April 2023. That the House resumes regular sittings on Tuesday, 11th April 2023, to continue with the first part of the session. Honorable Speaker, you may have noticed that we have moved to extend the short recess by a week because the House still awaits the reports by the various committees, and therefore the extension of timeline by a week allows committees time to finalize their reports on bills, on treaties, inquiries, which will be brought to the House upon resumption of the regular sittings. And owing to the fact that after, of course, the recess session, we will have several matters in the floor of the House, and we do not want to have, the committees missing the plenary sittings and going for committee sittings then. So you want to allow the members of the committees some quality time to finalize their work, their bills, their treaties, and such, before the resumption of regular sittings. And that is why we seek an extension of our recess. So it's actually a working recess by a week. So you'll notice, Honorable Speaker, that Easter holidays falls during the recess period, and therefore members will have an opportunity also to reconnect to their families and the constituents and engage with the people, because we've actually been having a very busy session when we resumed this year, and it's important for members to have quality time with the constituents, attend burials, issue bursaries, listen to the members of the public and such. So with those very few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and ask the Honorable Robert Mbui to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this motion. And I want to just note that for the benefit of everyone, maybe the citizens of this country, recess for the National Assembly is not a holiday. Every time you use the word recess, people might think that Parliament is going on holiday. We are not going on holiday. We are only changing the venue of work, because Parliament operates from chamber, in committees, and also even in the constituencies. So we are only extending by 1 week so that we can be able to carry out those responsibilities that we may not be able to carry out appropriately when we come to the chamber. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second.
Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28.4, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the second session, regular sessions, as adopted on Wednesday, February 15th, 2023, by varying the period for the short recess with respect to the first part of the session, so that A, the short recess commences on Friday, 24th March 2023, and ends on Monday, 10th April 2023, and B, the House resumes regular sittings on Tuesday, 11th April 2023, to continue with the first part of the session. I'll now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, this House, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the second session, regular sessions, as adopted on Wednesday, February 15, 2023, by varying the period for the short recess with respect to the first part of the session, so that A, the short recess commences on Friday, 24th March 2023, and ends on Monday, 10th April 2023, and B, the House resumes regular sittings on Tuesday, 11th April 2023, to continue with the first part of the session. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, motion. Report on the consideration of the draft salaries and remuneration commission, remuneration and benefit of state and other public officers regulations 2022. Question to be put.
Order, honorable members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats, honorable members. Honorable members, on order number 9, I now put the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the draft salaries and remuneration commission, remuneration and benefits of state and other public officers regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 8th March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 26(2) of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act 2011, rejects the draft Salaries and Remuneration Commission remuneration and benefits of state and other public officers regulations 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Approval of nominees to 3 National Government Constituency Development Funds committees. Question to be put.
Order, honorable member, take your seat, Wanjala. Thank you. Honorable members, on order number 10, I now put the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee on 3 constituency committees laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 15 March 2023, and pursuant to the provision of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 5, 2, and 10. Order. Order, honorable member. We can give you the liberty to extend your conversation in the corridor as business goes on. Paragraphs 5, 2, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016 approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 3 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund. 1, Garissa Township Constituency. Name, category, and statutory provision. Farah Yusuf, male youth representative, appointed pursuant to Section 432B. Hassan Osman Shurie, male adult rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432B. Marian Somo Hussein, female youth rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432C. Fatma Ahmed Kosar, female adult rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432C. Siad Hared Mohammed, representative of persons with disability, appointment pursuant to Section 432D. Mohamud Ahmed Dahib, nominee of the constituency office, male, appointment pursuant to Section 432E. Haredha Kahia Saman, nominee of the constituency office, female, appointment pursuant to Section 432E. 2, Mbere North Constituency, additional names. Brian Wallen Muteti Njiru, male youth, appointment pursuant to Section 432B. Javesias Nyomboyekode Ngugi, male adult representative, appointment pursuant to Section 432B. 3, Narok East Constituency. Oropi Olemutuya Meshuko, male youth rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432B. Tapia Olngashar Punywa, male adult representative, appointment pursuant to Section 432B. Hana Nashipae Kusero, female youth rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432C. Gladys Wanjiru Soitara, female adult rep, appointment pursuant to Section 432C. Leshinga Mututua, representative of persons with disability, appointment pursuant to Section 432D. John Salaton Swakei, nominee of the constituency office, male, appointment pursuant to Section 432E. Pilale Ene Kashanga Kisotu, nominee of the constituency office, female, appointment pursuant to Section 432E. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will those of the counter opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 11, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 12, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in 2023-2024 financial year and for connected purposes. Order number 14, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, second reading.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. And we are here to consider the Division of Revenue Bill. That is Bill number 9 of 2023. Mr. Speaker, I first of all want to thank the members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee for a good job they have done in the recent past, and especially in making sure that we take our primary role as a House for budget making with the decorum that it deserves. Mr. Speaker, the members have also been very dedicated because, as you are aware, it is a very intense process, and basing on the disruption of the calendar from last year because of the elections, we have had to consider three important critical areas of budget making within a very short time. Mr. Speaker, within last month, we were able to pass the supplementary estimates. Last week, we were able to consider the BPS. And Mr. Speaker, from then, we have been considering the Division of Revenue Bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just to bring to speed the members, because I want to take very little time, when we talk about the Division of Revenue Bill, what is it that we are talking about? Mr. Speaker, this is the bill that allocates money vertically insofar as the national government is concerned and the county governments. Mr. Speaker, this bill considers a block figure because there is a subsequent bill that considers horizontal allocation, which is called the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I would want members to get the difference, and even in regards to the other jargons we talk about here in Parliament. And just taking a brief moment, Mr. Speaker, it is good to update members that substantially budget making process starts on the November of the previous year. In this current situation, budget making started in November, October last year through something that we call sector working groups, where different sectors come together, different departments come together, forming clusters of sectors, and then, Mr. Speaker, they work on their budget backwards. After that is considered, Mr. Speaker, then we do what we were doing here last week and what departmental committees have been doing for the last 2 or 3 weeks, where we consider ceilings of our budget, Mr. Speaker, and we consider departmental ceilings and sectoral ceilings in regards to budget making. Mr. Speaker, that is the process, in other words, that we call budget policy statement, or PPS, which basically sets the ceilings of the sectors and ceilings of departments. Mr. Speaker, after that, we go now to what we call the estimates. After we do away with the PPS, what follows is now what we consider as the budget. These are the estimates, where after now we have allocated these block figures and the ceilings, then we cascade further. After we give, for example, the Department of Forestry this amount of money, it is now the annual estimates that now goes into specific projects. Mr. Speaker, that is in line with the main budget. Mr. Speaker, after 2010, we now have 2 levels of government to consider. And we consider them right from the inception of budget making. But it starts to take shape, Mr. Speaker, and especially as far as this House is concerned, through the process that we are considering today. Mr. Speaker, today's motion, we are debating around the vertical allocation of the monies that we remit to our counties, equivalent now to a kind of BPS that only touches on counties alone. Mr. Speaker, after now we do the block figure, it is the business of counties to do their main or to do their own budget lines. But it is the prerogative of this House, in conjunction with the Senate, again to allocate now this block figure that I'm going to give, that is a tune of 385 billion, to specific counties. That is 47 counties. And Mr. Speaker, the way we do it is not the way we have been dealing, for example, with the CDF, where we take the figure and divide equally. Here is where now we have CRA coming in, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, which takes now this block figure, puts in a calculator called a formula, and then that formula calculates what from county 001 to county 047 gets. And Mr. Speaker, that will be our next business, which is called now the County Allocation of Revenue Bill. Mr. Speaker, I thought it's good that I demystify these jargons so that we are able to handle this matter objectively. And therefore, just to repeat, the Division of Revenue Bill, the reason it is so brief, it is because it considers a block figure. And then the specifics in terms of what each county gets, that is on a different bill, Mr. Speaker, which is the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, which this House, in conjunction with the Senate, will be considering. Mr. Speaker, because devolution has a monetary side, that is why the National Assembly is very integral. But on the other side, when we are discussing county matters, then the Senate is also very pivotal. That is why the Senate has already been able to consider the same thing we are considering today, and also they'll be very integral in considering the County Allocation of Revenue Bill. Mr. Speaker, what are the kind of figures that you are considering? The budget, as we did in the BPS last week, we are talking about a budget of approximately 3.6 trillion Kenya shillings, the global figure. Mr. Speaker, out of the 3.6 trillion Kenya shillings, Kenya seeks 2.1 trillion is the money that will be running the national government. And these monies will be running the national government insofar as recurrent and development is concerned. That is 2.1 trillion Kenya shillings. The second highest allocation insofar as BPS is concerned, and also we have given the summary in this bill, the second highest from national government, Mr. Speaker, it is what we call consolidated fund services. Some of these things, Mr. Speaker, when I get an opportunity like this, I repeat them, Mr. Speaker, so that they cease to be jargons and they become issues that we can freely discuss. CFS, Mr. Speaker, is the monies that we spend in paying the interest rate of the monies that we have borrowed, servicing our national debt. That is both domestic and also foreign, and especially in regards to interest. It is the same CFS, Mr. Speaker, that has got pensions in them, and also the monies that we give to our commissions, Mr. Speaker, and other such very important obligations. The other third allocation, Mr. Speaker, is what we are discussing today within the Division of Revenue Bill. Because on the vertical allocation, Mr. Speaker, out of the 3.6 trillion Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker, we are giving our counties the normal allocation of Kenya shillings, 385 billion Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, this is an increment of 15 billion over and above the 370 that the counties were to receive last year. Mr. Speaker, in addition to that, it is important that I mention to this House that these are not the only funds that our counties will receive. Mr. Speaker, we will also be coming to this House with another bill again called additional revenue, Mr. Speaker, that we give to our counties. Mr. Speaker, this is where we include the conditional grants, both from the national government and from external foreign counterparts, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the entire conditional grant insofar as this year is concerned is just around 44 billion Kenya shillings. Within that money, Mr. Speaker, there is a 4.7 billion Kenya shillings which you are giving to every county 100 million shillings for the construction of industrial parks. Mr. Speaker, this is a project that has been agreed upon between the President and the governors, where the national government will chip in and the counties will meet us in some way so that we are able to establish industrial centers and parks within our counties. And therefore, cumulatively, Mr. Speaker, if you add 385 and 44, then we are talking about monies that goes to nearly 330 actually billion Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, as far as the law is concerned, how do we derive at the amount of money that we actually allocate vertically to our counties? It is very clear, Mr. Speaker, that counties are entitled to 15% of the revenues, Mr. Speaker, that have been submitted by the Auditor General to this House, debated and passed by this House. Mr. Speaker, the last financials that were passed by this House is 2019-2020. And Mr. Speaker, therefore, we are considering revenues of around 1.6 trillion Kenya shillings. Mr. Speaker, therefore, the money that we are giving our counties vertically accounts for around 23.3%, which is over and above the threshold of 15%, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned there before that this is in addition to the other conditional grants that our counties receive. Mr. Speaker, we got from our brothers and sisters from the Senate, which had considered that the counties were to receive ordinary remittances from the national government to a tune of 407 billion. Mr. Speaker, we faulted our other house because of the consideration and basis. The basis in terms of the laws that we use is the last audited financials, Mr. Speaker, financial statements. But Mr. Speaker, Senate was basing their figure of 407 billion to the projected revenue of this financial year. That has its pitfalls, Mr. Speaker, because you cannot budget issues of money on projections. And especially if, when you cast the figure on stone, then you cannot change it. Mr. Speaker, the figure we are considering today, once we consider it, it can only be fulfilled. And therefore it is important that we base such kind of important figure on the basis of reality and fact. Mr. Speaker, I also want to bring to this House, and especially the members who were there before last term, must have noted that there is the money for maintenance of roads maintenance levy fund, Mr. Speaker. Last term, our first 3 years, Mr. Speaker, these monies, some were coming to what now is KERA in our regions, the one that we superintend in our constituencies, and a sizable amount was also being transferred to our counties. Mr. Speaker, in the last 2 years, this has changed, and that has led to the enhancement of the road maintenance levy fund that comes to our constituencies, and especially the 22% and the 10% to where it is now, which moved from approximately 30 million per constituency to 60 million per constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is the feeling of the committee that we retain that as it is, Mr. Speaker, because the counties, the constituencies are a smaller units, Mr. Speaker, of governance, and we are able, Mr. Speaker, as members of parliament, and especially as KERA, to be able to see the roads that clearly disturb our people and act on them. Mr. Speaker, this is because our brothers and sisters in counties also have, within their normal allocation, monies for road maintenance, Mr. Speaker, and therefore that status quo for the last 2 years is remaining as we pass this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are just a few things I want to say, then we give other members an opportunity. Number one is that there has been 5 counties that never had district headquarters, which we are considering even on this division of revenue bill, Mr. Speaker, through conditional grants, that they complete their ongoing headquarters. Some like the Rakanithi is almost complete, nearly complete for the last many years. And because, Mr. Speaker, any construction site, whatever percent it is, it only starts to get utility, Mr. Speaker, when the citizens are using it. It behoves of this House that we consider allocating those resources so that we complete those ongoing headquarters in 5 constituencies. Mr. Speaker, our governors also are doing a fantastic job, and as fellow leaders, it is important that we support them. And we have done that in the past in the committee, where even in the supplementary estimates, we considered the arrears of yesteryears, Mr. Speaker, which had not been remitted. But on the same breath, Mr. Speaker, we have noted that majority of our CECs from across the counties spent majority of their time following up money, Mr. Speaker, to be released. They move from the Office of the Controller of Budget to the National Treasury. Mr. Speaker, it should not be the business of our CECs to keep on following up money, Mr. Speaker. We must devise a formula where the money that the exchequer gives or receives, Mr. Speaker, they are able to allocate that money even to our counties without a lot of pushing, so that we leave our CECs finance to be able to superintend the monies within their counties, other than wasting time, Mr. Speaker, in the Controller of Budget's office and the National Treasury. Mr. Speaker, therefore, it is important that I note that this committee noted that anomaly, that we should be able to streamline and get a formula on how exchequer is allocated, Mr. Speaker, even within the circumstances of scarcity. Mr. Speaker, as we talk about pending bills, this is a menace within the national government, and also it is also endemic in our county governments, Mr. Speaker. And some of these issues are not of the making of the current governors. These are a historical problem, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we allocate this money vertically, it is important that even as the national government sorts out the issues of pending bills, even our beloved governors from across all counties, and who are doing a fantastic job in our counties, to also consider, Mr. Speaker, paying the men and women of this country who have already worked and done works within our counties and that are owed colossal amounts of money, Mr. Speaker, in our counties. This will enhance velocity of money in our localities. It will enhance the taxonomies of various counties, and there, Mr. Speaker, also generate a velocity that we need, and especially insofar as the macroeconomy is concerned, the velocity of money. Mr. Speaker, also something else that our governors can check, which has been endemic, not just the making of the current governors, it is the issue of recurrent versus development. Majority of these monies that you are allocating today, Mr. Speaker, the huge proportion of the 385 billion, most of this money, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, is going into recurrents, to paying salaries, Mr. Speaker, which is an noble thing, but we must be able to realize that as leaders, the governments do not exist to service the aging of the government. The government exists to service the people who have placed us in these positions. And we can only service these people, Mr. Speaker, if most of the money that we allocate goes into service delivery, and especially in development. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I would want also to speak to our governors, whom majority have been also members of this House and the Senate, that the national government is doing everything possible to raise our own revenue as a country, so that we stop this over-reliance on borrowed money. Mr. Speaker, our counties must realize that they cannot continue to operate and to function properly and efficiently when they are almost purely relying on the exchequer from the national government. Mr. Speaker, our counties have got powers to levy taxes, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the kind of proportion of money that we see in terms of own revenue is not commensurate with the opportunities that our counties have in terms of raising their own revenue. Mr. Speaker, we must enhance, and our counties must enhance their capacity to generate their own internal resources, Mr. Speaker, so that we can also deliver proper service to the people that we serve in our counties. Mr. Speaker, there will be in future a collective effort and especially within the National Treasury, to come up with a system that amalgamates the entire collection of our various counties, Mr. Speaker, so that they can be assisted with proper systems, and especially by eliminating human contact in revenue collection, so that we can beef up our A&A, in quotes, that comes from our counties, so that, Mr. Speaker, our people can enjoy the service from our counties in regards to the taxes and levies that they pay. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you, and thank you this, and thank this House, Mr. Speaker, for the continued support across the many obligations that you have been having in the recent past. And Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to move, Mr. Speaker, and request Honorable Dr. Chikati to second.
Chikati. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as highlighted by the Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the suggested distribution, Mr. Speaker, is more than the constitutional framework of 15% as laid down, and this should enable the county governments to carry out their responsibilities and obligations in regard to their activities. Mr. Speaker, with tough economic times, especially the conflicts in Russia and Ukraine, reforms need to be put in place and instituted so that encouragement is given to the county governments to enhance revenue revenue collection, so that we also boost the national government as far as revenues from the county government is concerned. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, the projected equitable share of 385 billion is adequate in light of the level of debt financing that is expected to be incurred during the 2023-2024 financial year, which is again 50% of the entire revenue of the national government. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second. Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, be now read the second time. The screen is full. I don't know if it is full for this bill or the usual logging in early. Samuel Atandi, Alego Usong. Had you logged in for this or for the point that you tried to raise?
I can say something, Honorable Speaker, on this. Can I go ahead?
Yes, I've given you the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I would like to support this motion, Division of Revenue Bill, and say, Honorable Speaker, that basically outlining the sharing of resources between national government, county government, and commissions. And like my chair has already put it very clearly, Honorable Speaker, the problem we have, Honorable Speaker, is that resources are not going to the counties as expected. As at now, Honorable Speaker, we are told that counties have not yet received resources for November last year. And this is something which concerns all of us as members of parliament, as members of budget committee, because our countries right now are the engine of survival for our people. Because, Honorable Speaker, you realize that issues to do with health and agriculture, very, very important components of our economy, are being handled by the county government. So, Honorable Speaker, we anticipate a situation where counties should really be the people to receive resources faster than any other person. So, as we pass this Division of Revenue Bill, we would like to urge Treasury to ensure that resources going to our counties are fast-tracked and that services do not stall in our counties. Second, Honorable Speaker, it is the the bill, it is in law, Honorable Speaker, that in case the resources collected there's a shortfall of resources collected by KRA, then the people to suffer are the national government, not counties. So, Honorable Speaker, this means that in case we collect more resources than was in the budget, the resources can be used to fund things like debt, and also can be used to support very other important aspects of national government. But, Honorable Speaker, this is not the situation. Because in the last financial year, Honorable Speaker, we collected more resources than what we had budgeted. And this was not reflected truly in the way the resources were reallocated. So, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge national government that this aspect needs to be really addressed. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, I know that there's a stalemate in the sharing of resources between national government and counties, and that the IBEC meeting has not been able to resolve this issue. I know that the Commission on Revenue Allocation, they have given their own figures on how much money should go to counties, as well as what is in this bill. Honorable Speaker, we want to urge everybody, all the players, to ensure that we come to an agreement, and so that we do not delay the passage of this bill. We want to urge the Senate to consider that we are in very hard times, and that there may be a lot of resources to go to the counties, because after all, Honorable Speaker, we know that a lot of counties are not spending their resources very well. And that is the reason why we have said that for the resources, for the fuel levy allocations that were supposed to go to counties as conditional grant, those resources should go to KERA so that they are supervised by MPs in the constituencies. Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Honorable Atandi. Honorable Peter Kihungi Kangema. He's not in the house. You log in and then you go out. Honorable Rindikiri Mugambi Buri.
I stand to support Mr. Speaker on this revenue allocation. Mr. Speaker, I think the committee has done an excellent job. I want to thank the chairman for taking time to take us through the meanings and jargons they are in. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that we really need to know and note is that the counties also receive a lot of grants and donations, which are channeled through the national government, but which are not strictly overseen or oversighted by the National Assembly. I would like to ask the committee that any money that is sent to the counties through the National Assembly, the national government, the National Assembly, is given the law of oversighting. For example, Mr. Speaker, there are project grants that come through a project called KISIP for slum upgrading. There is also money that comes through Kenya Revenue Board for loans. Mr. Speaker, all this money goes to the county, and once they are counted in the revenue board and revenue allocation bill, they should and need to be monitored so that we can know how this money is utilized. I want to thank the committee and the government for ensuring that the counties have given more money. But on top of that, there is the utilization of money, which is a key factor in how the counties utilize the resources that they are given. Mr. Speaker, you will find the money that is given first priority is the counties. But I want to disagree with one member who said that the counties need to be given money first. Money like CDF should also be given the first priority in this bill, because some of this money goes directly in support of the activities that are not given a lot of priorities. Mr. Speaker, I urge the committee to ensure that the checks and balances are given particularly when the revenue is being shared, so that now we don't strain one arm of the government. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I want to ask our fellow members, is there a time that we need to understand that this economy is going through hard times? We are spending a lot of time demonstrating. We are spending a lot of time talking about the high cost of living. We are spending a lot of time telling our young people to put sufurias on their head. We should spend time on how we should pay taxes, because all this money comes through taxation. I therefore request that the committee chaired by my friend Didi Nyolo, that they need to bring a bill in this parliament to ensure that the collectible taxes are collected in good time, so that we will be able to fund the activities of the government. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Francis Sigei Sotik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this bill, the division of revenue bill. But, Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the committee for doing an excellent job. Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Speaker, and the committee have done a very good job. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention one thing which I would like the government to do. And this is the timing of release of funds to the county government. Mr. Speaker, the county government and the devolution have done a very great job in this country. And Mr. Chairman, most of the problems we have in this county governments is the late release of funds to the county governments. The money is released late, and now the services which are given to the people in our counties, and which we have our own voters, are suffering. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention particularly the health sector. We don't have drugs in those hospitals. And when you check on why we cannot have drugs, it's because the national government do not release funds on time. And therefore, we urge the national government to release funds. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we also would like to see the county government being responsible and accountable for what they are doing. Because most of the money which goes to the county government goes to waste because of leakages, misuse of funds, and we want to urge the county government to be responsible. Mr. Speaker, we want to thank the committee, and in this respect, I want to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sigei. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.